We are getting closer to achieving the previously impossible ambition of not only getting humans to Mars, but doing it very soon. SpaceX is ready to go on a full test of the B-7 Super Heavy booster's 33 Raptor engines. This rocket booster is potentially the most powerful in history. It is twice as powerful as NASA's SLS engine, and there are a lot of reasons to be concerned. The last test was almost a disaster, and only 14 of the 33 engines were tested, and not even at full capacity. Yet the launch pad was almost obliterated. Would everything go as planned when the 33 engines are fired up? Or is this going to be a disaster? Maybe the question we should be asking is if the concerned agencies would give approval for the full test. These are just some of the questions this video would provide answers to, so stay tuned till the end. Before we go into the latest report on tests and events, let's take a minute to appreciate what we are dealing with here. SpaceX's Starship is the world's most powerful rocket. This piece of engineering is the pinnacle in rocket technology. It is setting a standard that may remain unbeatable for a long time. We take a look at the numerous challenges this immense power is causing all involved companies and agencies in the most recent tests. You would at the end of this video appreciate how revolutionary this rocket is and the engines that drive it. The upgraded Raptor 2 engine is what propels the Starship. Each engine produces an unbelievable 230 tons of thrust. That is 510,000 pounds of force. You think that is incredible? Then you would have your jaws drop learning that there are an astonishing 33 Raptor 2 engines bolted to the Starship. Together, we can expect about 16 million pounds of thrust. To appreciate this number, you must consider that the F1 engine which powered Saturn V could only produce a peak thrust of 1.5 million pounds. On November 14th, SpaceX's Super Heavy Booster 7, which is the name given to the Starship booster assembly and otherwise known as B-7, set a world record. It became the fourth most powerful rocket engine test when 14 of B-7's engines were fired up to 73% capacity. If they were cracked up to 100% capacity, the B-7 would have generated a thrust of 7.1 million pounds. But right now, this is the only operational engine capable of such power. Only SpaceX's own Falcon Heavy rocket, capable of producing up to 5.13 million pounds of thrust at launch, is still operational and comes close. The Federal Aviation Administration took over a year to just evaluate the possible safety issues that could arise from the use of the Super Heavy boosters. The FAA is not the only concerned agency. Even NASA has fears that the Starship's immense power could obliterate the launch pad. If the 33 Raptor 2 rockets are tested simultaneously, we are unsure if the launch tarmac could handle the immense heat and blast forces that would be generated. Engineers at SpaceX have to do a thorough research if we are to avert a disastrous test when the 33 engines would be eventually put to test. Before NASA's partnership with SpaceX, the space agency had stopped development of rockets that were this powerful. Focus was more on the sustainability of the rockets being used, hence more research into developing reusable rockets. NASA itself does not manufacture these rockets. They are undertaken by private companies such as SpaceX and Ariane Space. Falcon 9, Heavy Falcon, Electron, and New Shepard are some of the successful reusable rocket projects we have had in the past 2 decades. The main reason why NASA does not directly produce reusable rockets is because they do not engage in a commercial use of these rockets, so it is not a venture worth spending tax dollars on. For example, Saturn V had only about a dozen launches, which was a number too low to make it viable for NASA to invest in the development of reusable launch vehicles. But NASA did make Orbiter and its solid rocket boosters reusable, as they have many missions planned for them. What SpaceX is doing is even more incredible. It is trying to create the world's most powerful spacecraft and also make it reusable. This would come with a lot of challenges, as nothing as this has been done successfully before. The People's Republic of China had attempted a similar test in July this year, which failed woefully, and reminds us of how difficult it is to bring in reusable space vehicles. The United States Space Command had, through their Twitter handle, #USSpaceCom, reported that the Long March 5B vehicle crashed into the Pacific Ocean on the 30th of July. NASA, through its administrator Bill Nelson, also condemned Beijing, saying that all spacefaring nations should follow established best practices. He said that this was necessary to responsible space travel and to also ensure the safety of people on Earth. This is the very reason why Starship's superheavy boosters are facing so much regulatory scrutiny, as the supervising agencies cannot risk any disastrous outcome. For now, NASA is leading. Just a few days back, November 16th to be precise, NASA set the world record for the most powerful rocket launched into space. The NASA Space Launch System, otherwise known as the SLS, was launched off the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center. In order to lift the Orion spacecraft into orbit and send it to the Moon for the Artemis 1 program, the SLS rocket used 2 solid rocket boosters and 4 repurposed RS-25 engines from the Space Shuttle program. Using 8.8 million pounds of thrust, the rocket lifted the Orion spacecraft into orbit and carried it to the Moon. This is just about half the power of Spaceship's almost 17 million pounds thrust from the superheavy booster B7 of Elon Musk's SpaceX. As said before, there are concerns. The first static test that used only 14 of the 33 Raptor engines caused a lot of damage to the launch pad and the rocket. Now that SpaceX is ready to test the 33 engines, would this not be a disaster? It's worth remembering that from 1969 to 1972, the Soviet Union tried 4 times to launch a rocket called the N-1, which produced 10.2 million pounds of thrust. But all 4 attempts failed mid-flight. According to NASA, only the SLS can carry cargo and crew to deep space destinations. A crewed Artemis 2 flight on an orbital moon mission is slated for no earlier than May 2024. But this claim would not last for long if Elon Musk's B7 booster succeeds in the full 33 Raptor engine test. Then it would take the record away from the SLS. In the meantime, Musk has sent his congratulatory message to NASA after Artemis 1 made its successful launch. As for the plans of retrieving the rocket upon re-entry, Elon Musk once revealed that the launch tower arm will be used to catch the rocket by using the grid fins. The Federal Aviation Administration is still deciding whether to issue a launch license for the SpaceX orbital Starship. Before the tower can catch a rocket booster, a lot needs to happen with that test flight and other developments. Considering that the BL-7 would be taking an historical leap, and considering that many other rockets of much lesser power have failed, would SpaceX deliver on its promise? Before it can do that, it must first get approval for the launch. Would all the regulatory agencies involved sanction the launch? Or is it just too risky and impractical to have a rocket so powerful at this time? If you enjoyed this video and want to get more updates, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.